comfortable. What I'm actually doing right now is recording my voice, aka the old school Bluetooth headset, and I'm recording what the screen is showing. So everything that I'm going to be showing you today is going to be posted for you folks to utilize later on at a different time. So first thing that I'm going to show you folks how to do with this board, it might be something that you know, it might be something that you don't know of yet. And the idea is being able to actually orient your board. Aw, let me out. All right. Most of you have the brand of board that's currently here in your library. This is called a 600 series. And one of the first things that you need to start doing with your board is practicing orienting. So right in front of your board, for most of you with the 600 series, there's two buttons, one that looks like a keyboard and one that looks like a mouse. If you go ahead and click both together, you get a target board that shows up. Hopefully this will make enough sense for you folks. Now, what a lot of people tend to do is they just go ahead and hit right in the center. That's actually one of the worst things that you can do. Something that I learned when I went over to the old Smart Tech headquarters is you actually track your finger around the board to find your target. It actually makes your target a lot more specific than if you were going to go at it as if it was a dartboard. Most of you have with your software the 9-point target. Some folks like to do it really quick within 4, and I've seen some people that are extremely specific and they actually want the 12-point target. Honest to goodness, the 9-point does it pretty dang well. So after you go ahead and orient your board, essentially what you've done is you've woken your board up to understand where is that specific touch supposed to be felt, or where is it supposed to be handled at. Something that you folks should have at the bottom of your desktop screen is this really tiny icon. I know it's hard for you folks to see where you're at. It's a light blue box with a white disc, but chances are you might not have that there. So I want to be able to show you where to find this info. So if you folks go into your Windows search, scroll down until you actually find your Smart Tech folder. And in the Smart Tech folder itself, what you want to be able to have at your desktop is this piece called the Smart System menu. So it's that light blue box with the white disc. Once you have that piece accessible on your desktop, it's going to end up making your world a lot easier to work with. And one of the other pieces that I'm going to be showing you today is something called Smart Ink. So I'm going to go right back to my Smart folder. And I'm going to make sure that my Smart Ink is on and running. So the way that I'm going to make sure that this is working properly, I'll go back to that System menu, and I'm going to select Smart Settings. If you're going, oh my gosh, I'm not going to remember this is why I record this info, to make it a little bit easier for you folks. Smart Ink is the way that you can actually work your board without having to use the notebook software. So if I go ahead and select that ink setting, one thing that you want to make sure that you have, again, this is being recorded, so if you don't remember, it's not a big deal. You want to check box that Smart Ink is going to immediately be on the moment that you start. And this is in the general settings. Also with the toolbar, I always like the pen toolbar to show up. That way I know what the heck this thing looks like. Everything I went ahead and selected. What you would have to end up doing, any changes that you make, you just need to make sure that you apply them. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of all this stuff. Whoops. And the reason why I did that is so the moment that you actually lift off that pen, you folks have this piece that shows up. This little guy is actually called the Smart Ink. And that little guy you can go ahead and put wherever you need on your board, so it's either in your field of vision or it's out of your field of vision. And just a couple of quick things. It doesn't matter which pen or stylus you pick up. And something else too, if you lose these things, and I definitely had kids that would take them from me in the classroom, as long as you have something covering the sensor, you're fine. You can use your finger, you don't have to use the stylus whatsoever. So what I'm going to do real quick is go ahead and touch on that little Smart Ink icon. The pen, I can go ahead and quick change the thickness of the pen. I can make it thinner. I can give myself a highlighting tool if I'd rather that. For now, I'm just going to go ahead, have red tool. Oh, no, it doesn't want to work. Isn't that nice? I think it might be that the projector and I are not friends today. What you're able to do once you actually have this Smart Ink pop up on your screen, you are able to immediately start writing on your screen without having to have the notebook software available to you. So let's try real quick. We'll see if it'll let us do this. It may or may not. Here's hoping. Ah, you will. So right now I've got my Smart Ink working. I'll make it a little bit smaller. Maybe you want to point something out to your students. You can go ahead and write on the screen. Super easy. Nothing big, nothing to worry about. Maybe you need to highlight some information to them. Like, hey, I want you folks to make sure that you go to the mail area. Something else I'm going to show you in the actual tools too. I'm going to close that so you folks can, or not. I'll go ahead and minimize that window. And I'll open the Smart Ink tool again. There's a couple of tools that I want to show you within Smart Ink that'll make things a lot easier for you. You have this icon that looks like a toolbox. If you select it, you've got a series of tools that do pop up. There's one image, it looks really small where you're at, almost looks like a magnifying glass on top of a screen. If you go ahead and select that tool, what this is actually a magnifying screen. So if you're needing to make something bigger to show your students, you can. So let's go ahead and open up that website again. And I'm going to go ahead and activate my little tool. There's my magnifier. Again, just something really simple, really easy that you folks could go ahead and incorporate without really having to work with any of the notebook software. All right, I'll go ahead and close that out. And because the computer doesn't like me touching the screen like that, the next thing that I am going to show you is actually the software itself. And I did that really quick. I shouldn't have been that quick with you. Your notebook software, most of you probably have it on your desktop. If you don't see it there, if you went ahead and went through your Windows search, and if you return to that Smart Tech folder, you can open up your Smart Notebook software right from there. The Smart Notebook software, it's similar to what I was just doing with you folks earlier, where you can go ahead and write anywhere that you need to. There's a lot of ways that you can make this a little bit more interactive. Well, why doesn't it like me? I'd have to orient that again. The idea behind the notebook software is that you can go ahead and activate a little bit more tools, make things a little bit more unique. But once again, you really don't need this to work with your board. I think what's more important for you as a beginner is to actually just utilize those notebook tools. Is there something I can quick show you again with the Smart Ink, perhaps? Because I know I went really fast. It's okay if not. Sweet. All right, we'll go ahead and move forward then. Something I wanted to have you folks just take a moment to think about are the basic instructional technology uses that you could incorporate using this interactive whiteboard in your classroom. I know when I first started using this particular tool, for me it was, okay, how many times can I use it? I want to use it every single day. I want to do it the best that I can. But it isn't necessarily the case. And one of the things that I considered was that little quote that's up on the board currently. It came from Wayne State University. It was their instructional tech program. And I saw the quote and I thought, you know what, that's actually a really smart way to think of how do I use not only the smartboard, but maybe my kiddos' own personal devices that they bring into the classroom. The idea that it's a study that improves our efficiency and our effectiveness as an instructor. So if I'm bringing this tool into my classroom, is it really efficient and is it really effective? So the idea of it being effective, is it really helping my student learn a concept or not? Sometimes not using the whiteboard is the best thing that you can do for your kids. It isn't necessarily the best tool on the market for certain aspects that you're trying to teach. The same with the idea of it being efficient. If I'm really wanting to use it, is it actually helping my kiddos grasp the concept quicker? Is it making it more adaptive? And is it making their knowledge more concrete? Again, sometimes a smartboard is going to be the way to go, and sometimes it's not. It just really depends on what is it that you're going to want to do with your kiddos. So the idea of being able to actually operate this board, not solely as a projector, something I want you to consider is that you're being selective and you're being purposeful with its use. Those quick tools that I showed you with Smart Ink, being able to use something as a magnifier, being able to write on your screen very quickly a note to your kiddos, That's being selective. That's being purposeful. Using that notebook software that I did like the 5-second showcase of, not necessarily going to be the best choice, and something to think about every so often. Again, I know I'm kind of blasting through this. Yeah?
I'm curious, with the recording that you're doing,
right.
so if we have students who's going to be out for an extended period of time, like to be able to do that as a lecture was great.
Yes.
But how do we get it from there to them?
That file, I'll be able to show you. I'll probably close it out in a little bit. And it's something that you brought up, the notation of if I have a student that's absent, this is something that I did every day for my students for English, and I posted it on my website. So I had like 85 files that my kids could go to, and a lot of my students, they did utilize it, especially getting ready for semester exams. The headset that I have, I think this thing cost me like 20 bucks back in the day, but it actually picks up from about 10 feet away. So I could be at the front of the room, a student would ask me a question, and I could hear them clear as day pulling through that mic, which was a really nice tool to have. And right now that smart recording, I think you might have seen it just kind of popped in the top left. You're able to maneuver it and get it out of the way, because right now it's just chilling all the way at the bottom of the screen. And it's a great, quick tool, something easy that you might really enjoy. I did want to share those survey results with you folks and how we can actually make those changes. So the number one question that I took the time to look at was number 7. And number 7 was asking what was making that interactive whiteboard, what factors were keeping you from using it. And the top answer from most people that took the survey was not having the training and not having the resources. Now, to say that this training is the best training ever is a total lie. It's not. There's not enough time. But what I can show you are resources that I have either spent the time building or I've spent the time finding, going, yes, this will work. This works for a beginner. This works for someone who's got a little bit of a handle. This is for someone who's advanced and can make it work. The second big issue was class size. I'm not sure about your school site itself. I know the average class size right now at my middle school is about 42 kids. And having 42 kids in a classroom is a bit of a nightmare. It's a bit of a classroom management issue for sure. But it is something that you can work with this board. Third big issue that you folks found was that the tech didn't necessarily support your curriculum. And that's okay. That idea of being purposeful, being selective, that's where your professionalism comes into play, because this tool may not be the best tool for every single lesson and every single day. Fourth major problem that you saw was the idea of a competitive tool. And last but not least is outdated software. I know that your IT guy was in here helping me out a little bit earlier, and I believe most of you now have your software up and running at 17.1 or 17.2, and that is the newest software that's running. So hopefully that's not going to be too much of an issue for you folks anymore. So what exactly are fixes to that? I do have a bunch of resources to fix those major problems. The idea of the proper training, making sure that you have access to it as well as the resources. I'm going to show you where that information is going to be at and how you folks are going to be able to find it. The idea of class size, we can't fix the number of kids that are in our room, but we can fix a few things. We can change how do we deliver the curriculum, and maybe the board is the way that you can make that happen. Maybe changing the seating up, just getting an idea running in your head and giving it a try. Technology not supporting the curriculum, something to consider. Curriculum isn't just text. It isn't just content. Curriculum is more than that. It's your everyday interaction with your kiddo. It's how do you have them do a warm-up or start a do now. Those kind of things are still part of your curriculum. Competitive tools being on the market, believe it or not, the whiteboard is actually a great segue to get newer technologies into your classroom. I have used virtual reality with the smartboard and with my students. I have used iPads as secondary whiteboards with my students, and that's information that I'll be sending to you folks as well. Because I have heard through that survey, there were a few of you that wanted to know, how can I have more kids working with the board? An iPad, their smartphone, there are apps that will sync up with that technology to make it work. And last but not least, the outdated software, again, super quick, super easy to take care of. So what would be your good resources for you folks to use for your skill level? So here's the first one that I'm going to share with you. This website is actually something I built for a grad program. Yes?
Yeah, my question about the outdated software.
Yes.
every time I start smartboard, it comes up with morning that your software is out of date.
Yes.
It's not about it being out of date. I have step one, but they actually expect to buy a license every year for $20 for the $2 program without that coming up and with also available. So is there a fix for that?
Right now, the software package that the district bought back, I think it was 2014. I can't recall if it was 13 or 14. They bought a 7-year license for notebook software up to edition 15. So having 17 that you currently have on your site, the 17 software is the 30-day trial, the 30-day run. When those 30 days are out, you can re-download. Sometimes the computers kind of miss that little note and they will let you re-download, but we actually have access to 15 until, oh, come on, math skills, until 2021 or 2022. We'll have that 15 availability until that time frame. Right. And there is a way that you can, it sounds terrible, but there is a way that you can downgrade the software. So if you want to return it back to its original state, you can do that. There is a way to make that happen. No problem. So this was a website, again, I built for a grad class. I'm a smartboard nerd. It was my #1 instructional tech. I love this thing. It's kind of where it's gotten me today. And the idea behind this website was, how do I kind of build that excitement again for this technology that was created over a decade ago? A lot of folks figured, you know what, this is dead in the water. Why do we spend money on it? Not so. The idea is being able to rethink ways of how to actually work with it in your classroom. And it doesn't matter what your curriculum is. There's a way to make it work. So within the website, and I'll be posting the link for you folks to have in another area, the beginner areas that I think are the best places to start with this big website would be tried and true, setup, and contact. Now, the idea behind tried and true are classic ways that you can utilize a whiteboard in your classroom. And it isn't necessarily just using the software that comes with the board. It's being able to just physically feel confident that you can use the board and that your kiddos can use the board as well. The setup is talking about ways how you can actually place your board or work with it for whole group setting or for small group. And contact is just an easy way to get a hold of me. Now, the other place that I'm going to be directing you folks to, I've created within our CCSD G Suite accounts, I've created a folder called Smart Technologies and IWB. And this link is going to be shared with Mr. Nelson, and he'll be posting it in your icon for Bonanza High School so that you folks can access the information that's in there. Again, it's always difficult to try and put so much information in only 30 minutes of time. So the best thing that I can do for you is just let you know where can you find this information and how can you get a hold of me. Last but not least, I did want to give you folks my email. This is the G Suite account, Gmail. I'm on there frequently. I have no problem answering questions at all. If I don't know the answer, I can seek it out. I've got my segue into smart tech. I am a geek. I have been there. I enjoy the place, and I enjoy the people that work there. And no, I do not get paid by smart tech to be here. This is the goodness of my CCSD public school heart. They don't pay me, although I would love if they did. So if you have any questions, by all means, please don't be afraid. Give me an email. I'd be happy to help you. Again, I apologize that we can only do so much in 30 minutes, more like 22, but I hope the information that you did receive today had a little bit of benefit for you. All right, that's our time.